Good evening. It is Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. This is your weather enthusiast, Simcha Lefton, with your latest update. Just a couple of updates regarding yesterday's episode. So usually I tend not to update it. I used to update it on a daily basis, but I realized that whatever comes out first, that tends to be right. It's like when a person takes a test, you're doing a multiple choice test, and if you pick B and then you start to think it's A, once you erase B and you pick A, you usually find out later that B was right. But here's the thing, we want to keep it scientific as well. So just to tell you a little bit about the triple point. So the truth is, looking at it from a scientific perspective, we don't have any forecast discussions right now actually mentioning an actual triple point developing for Thursday afternoon. Nonetheless, what you have to keep in mind is that that was the first thing, and I don't know why, but that's the first thing. Whatever happens to come first on this episode, on this podcast, does tend to be most accurate. That's what I've learned, and we already are seeing some variables coming together for portions of northern Illinois, northwest Illinois, into Wisconsin, which could indicate there will be a triple point. We're going to stay tuned for tomorrow, stay up to date. It's actually not tomorrow, it's for Thursday. You see, the main low pressure system, the most intense low pressure system, the center of it is in Minnesota. A powerful dry line is across the western portions of Illinois for Thursday afternoon. If these two come together, we would have the triple point. They're a little bit separated, but nonetheless, we do have deep low pressure over in the western portions of Illinois. And then in Wisconsin, that's when you really get to hear tornado hazards, widespread tornado hazards, big time. Until you get into Wisconsin, the National Weather Service forecasts are not so much focused on tornadoes, an isolated tornado here and there. But let's go back to also something else that we spoke about, which is the difference between St. Louis and Chicago. So usually, it's quite strange to have storms for the St. Louis National Weather Service to mention yesterday that the storms will generally stay northeast of the St. Louis area, and that's a rarity for the St. Louis area to miss it, but Chicago gets it. So I want to point out something. Today already, it looks like there's going to be some storms to the southeast of the St. Louis area. Here's the thing to look at. So if you look at some of the models, first of all, it's very difficult to figure out whether there's going to be thunderstorms this far in advance. We don't really have, you can't really do it with a global model, but you can get the general idea that thunderstorms will be developing and Thursday afternoon. Now, the only thing is that that's for Wisconsin. Regarding the other locations, the general theme is that should a thunderstorm develop, it's going to be a powerhouse storm, but the air is just so dry in the upper atmosphere, it really doesn't look like there's going to be any thunderstorms developing. That's the scientific approach. But climatologically speaking, St. Louis tends to get thunderstorms, and even if you look at the European computer model, you still will see a little bit of a thunderstorm complex at least hit the East St. Louis area at some point Thursday afternoon. When you go into the Chicago area, so what you have to realize is that the storms head into the Chicago area. They say that there's more of a certainty regarding the storms in Wisconsin. The thing is, this is very important, is that we do have a holiday here, a Jewish holiday, Lag BaOmer, which starts Thursday night, concerts given Thursday night. So it's very crucial to figure out, will there be rain, will there not be rain? And this is something, meteorologist Tom Skilling in the past, he's retired, but in the past, he actually took holidays into account regarding his forecast. This is one of the. This is a certain way that a person can see the divine in the weather. It's not a bunch of chaos, but there is a certain consistency that we have over here. Parts of the Chicago area could very well easily miss the entire system, the entire storm. Even if it doesn't, still by the time you get to Tseis, by the time you get to even Shkia already, there's a good chance the storms will be out of here. So you do see the storms falling apart as they approach the Chicago area. So we have two things unique going on Thursday. Number one, it's the weather map, and number two, it's the holiday of Lag BaOmer, Thursday evening. Those two things coincide, bringing an increased chance for dryness for both the St. Louis area and to some extent even the Chicago region. But what needs to be pointed out is that any storms that do develop will rapidly intensify. The primary threat seems to be large hail in the northern Illinois area, but tornadoes are equally a major impact for the Wisconsin area, and northern Illinois is very close to that. That's something to point out. Now, going back into the Dakotas, we did have a brutally hot day today as temperatures went into the mid and to upper 90s, even up into Winnipeg, Canada. If you look on windy.com, you'll see the temperatures at 97 degrees. Other locations, Phillips, South Dakota, 98 degrees. I was unable to find a city which was 100 degrees. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. And then you go into Texas and you just see some brutal heat developing over in the Texas area with temperatures going into the mid and even upper 100s over the next couple of days for Texas, especially for today and tomorrow. North Dakota. If you're in North Dakota, we're still seeing some heat today with temperatures reaching into the mid 80s to mid 90s across the state. Please also be aware that there's a red flag warning in effect this evening for the James River Valley due to the risk of fire. Looking ahead, there's a chance of isolated severe storms in the southwest late tonight, but the big story for North Dakota is a significant weather change arriving tomorrow. We're expecting a much cooler air mass to move in, bringing with it high chances for rain starting on Wednesday and continuing through Friday. Temperatures will drop dramatically, with highs only reaching the 40s and 50s later in the week. Let's go into South Dakota, where we've had that really intense heat due to those downslope winds. Part of it is due to the downslope winds off the Black Hills. It's another hot day, especially in the western part of the state. There's a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms for far western South Dakota tonight, and that risk increases to a slight risk for severe storms in south central South Dakota on Wednesday afternoon. Looking ahead to Thursday, expect very windy conditions across western South Dakota with potentially strong gusts. There's also chances for some scattered showers and storms from tonight through Thursday night. Moving east into Minnesota, we're continuing to experience hot and breezy conditions today, with temperatures climbing into the 80s and 90s across the state. There's a red flag warning in effect for much of western Minnesota due to the high fire risk, and an air quality alert for ozone is in place for most of the state until this evening. Wednesday will bring more hot and breezy weather. Looking ahead to Thursday, there's a risk of severe thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening, while the highest risk is just to the east. In Wisconsin, Minnesota is also under a marginal risk. Headed into the Chicago area, we're expecting near record warmth again on Thursday, with temperatures reaching the upper 80s to around 90 degrees, potentially nearing record levels. The National Weather Service is also highlighting a level 2 out of 5 threat for severe weather Thursday afternoon and evening. While there's some uncertainty about whether storms will fully develop, but if they do, we could see strong to severe storms, with the main threat being large hail and damaging winds. There's also a possibility of isolated tornadoes, especially if wind conditions are just right near the approaching weather front. The storms are expected to move in from the west during the mid to late afternoon and should clear out by the evening. Headed to the St. Louis area, expect continued warmth with well above normal temperatures from Wednesday into Friday. Highs in the 85 to 90 degree range, but we think that in St. Louis, the Lambert Airport will likely go well above 90, low 90s, maybe even higher than that. The record high is 94 degrees on Thursday. The chance for widespread thunderstorms on Thursday afternoon and evening looks limited due to a capping inversion, but isolated storms are possible east and south of the city. The better chance for showers and thunderstorms in the St. Louis area will be on Friday afternoon and evening. Looking into Iowa, the National Weather Service in Des Moines is forecasting strong thunderstorms to move into northern and central Iowa beginning Wednesday night and lasting into Thursday morning in the northern part of the state. While they do mention the possibility of some isolated severe hail, their confidence in that is low. Looking at eastern Iowa, the National Weather Service in the Quad Cities is forecasting near record warmth and a higher likelihood of severe thunderstorms on Thursday, particularly along the Illinois border. So while the confidence in widespread severe weather linked to a strong triple point is varied across Iowa, there's definitely a likelihood of thunderstorm activity, especially across the northern and eastern parts of the state around Thursday afternoon. Texas, turning our attention to Texas, the National Weather Service in Fort Worth is forecasting record-breaking heat today and especially on Wednesday across north and central Texas. We can expect temperatures to reach 100 degrees in many locations on Wednesday, and a heat advisory has been issued for parts of central Texas. While Thursday will still be warm with highs in the low to mid-90s, the most intense heat will be earlier in the week. Down in deep south Texas around Brownsville, the National Weather Service is issuing a serious warning about a major to extreme heat risk across the region through at least early next week. We could expect temperatures and heat indices to climb well into the triple digits inland, potentially reaching as high as 110 degrees, with very warm nights also expected. Looking at Tennessee, we could expect sunny, humid, and warm weather for Wednesday and Thursday, with temperatures reaching the upper 80s to around 90 degrees on Thursday, but the weather will become more active again Thursday night, with the return of scattered showers and storms, mainly along and north of Interstate 40. The main concern will shift to Friday evening into early Saturday morning, when there's an increasing chance for severe storms, with large hail being the primary threat. Over in Louisiana, the National Weather Service in New Orleans is forecasting dry conditions to continue through Thursday morning, with temperatures steadily rising. By Thursday, we could expect highs to reach the upper 80s to low 90s, and with the humidity, heat index will be approaching 100 degrees. Finally, a quick note on the extreme heat in Pakistan. This is actually referring to a forecast 2 weeks out. Temperatures are forecasted to go into the 120s, and apparently they were like that back in April. We do have very intense heat developing across the world, starting around Memorial Day weekend. People might want to stay tuned. This will be affecting portions of Russia by the Caspian Sea, portions of the Persian Gulf, India, Pakistan, the Great Salt Lake Desert, and areas right around there. So stay tuned. There's a lot to talk about. Thank you for listening. I wish everybody a wonderful evening.